Hey guys, my name's Jamin. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. In this video, I have a Dell G15 5510 gaming laptop. I'm going to show you how to open it up, access your heatsink assembly and your fans. So first thing guys, power down your computer the correct way. Make sure it's off and unplugged from your charger. We're then going to flip it over to access our bottom case screws. So you have 3 screws along this edge, 3 screws along this edge, and these 2 on the bottom. After you take those screws out, you're going to take a small, flat, preferably plastic pry tool. I say plastic because it's going to scratch your case less than a metal pry tool will. You're going to take your pry tool and you're going to put it along the edge, along the seam here, on the bottom case and the rest of your computer. And you're going to slowly pry this bottom case off from the rest of your computer right through here. If you get stuck in a certain area, leave it, go to the other side, continue in the other direction. Also, don't put your pry tool too far in. You can damage some internal components. Keep it right on the edge. And this bottom case was actually fairly easy to take off compared to other computers. After you get your bottom case off, this is what you're looking at for the inside of your computer. Now, as a general computer repair side note, guys, whenever I'm working on a computer in my shop, I have it sitting on an anti-static pad. Either that or an anti-static bracelet will go a long way to help you avoid damaging things in your computer when you're working on it. If you guys want any help with tools or supplies like that, as well as any of these replacement or upgrade parts for the Dell G15 5510, there'll be a link above, also below in the description with all the tools that I use, as well as all those replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model. Also, before touching anything in a computer, it's best to unplug your battery. This battery unplugs very easily. I held this cable here, took it up a little bit, and I took a pry tool and this black ribbing right there on top, I gently pushed down on that with my pry tool at the same time that I gently pulled down on this cable, and the battery unplugged fairly easily. Okay, so now that the battery has been removed, it's safe to proceed deeper into the computer. Now, unfortunately, some of you may know what's about to happen. You can see a fan here, you can see a fan here, but you don't see any heatsink assembly. So you may have guessed it, that means the heatsink assembly is on the reverse side of the motherboard. So to get at your fans, to get at your heatsink assembly, your CPU, GPU, you have to remove the entire motherboard and flip it over. So it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. I'll walk you through how to do it. First thing we got to remove is this panel up here. You see these 2 screws right here. You're going to have to take both of these screws out that hold it to the motherboard. And then we're going to turn the computer so you can see this edge here. On that edge, you have a screw here and a screw here. 2 screws on either side of your HDMI port. Those have to come out. After those screws are removed, you can slide this panel up and off, and that will expose more of your heatsink assembly up here. But now we have to completely remove everything on the motherboard. So this right here, this is your solid state drive plugged into your M.2 port stock. If some of you may have another solid state drive here. This is another upgrade M.2 port. Most of you will have it empty, but you will have to remove this solid state drive. So there's a screw here, and this shield comes off, this copper shield. Then this leaves you here, and there's one more screw right there. You remove that screw, you can pull out your solid state drive. Right here is your Wi-Fi card. You need to remove that as well. Again, similar to your solid state drive, there's a single screw right here. You undo that, you take off this guard. These are your antenna wire that run through your fan here on the outer edge. Those are just snaps. You snap those right up and off of that Wi-Fi card, and the Wi-Fi card can pull out of this port there too. Then we're going to need to go around and unplug everything from your motherboard. So we've already unplugged your battery, but you've got to get these 2 ribbon cables here, this ribbon cable here. So these ribbon cables, guys, ribbon cables are always kind of a pain. They're very fragile. If you notice, you have a white port there, 2 white ports here, and there's a black clip holding down the ribbon cable on these. The way that you work these is these black clips open and shut like a book cover. So it opens from this end, and the hinge end is on top. So what you do is you put a flat, very thin pry tool in underneath the clip this way, and then you pop it up, and then you can slide the ribbon cable out. I say they're fragile because if you put too much force and you break that black clip, you're probably not going to find a replacement, in which case your ribbon cable will never be able to securely fasten. So be very careful with those. This one here too, the black clip is on the reverse side up top. So you're going to pop that up, slide your keyboard ribbon cable out. Your speaker wires plug in here. There's a grip on either side, so you can use your fingernails and slide that out, and your cable comes down here. You may have to pry that up a little bit. Be careful because it's still plugged in, but you may need to pry it up a little bit because you may have to apply some force on the actual cords to pull it out of this port. I had kind of a hard time with that. You can see a little slit there, so you can put a pry tool in there and try to pull that out, but I had to do a combination of pushing on this and pulling on this. Also too, remember your fan wires. This fan plugs into the motherboard right here. Use your pry tool to wiggle that out of that plug. Fan wires are very fragile. You definitely don't want to pull on that. This fan here plugs in right here. Same way, wiggle that out. And then remember, I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not. I'm sorry, when you get your antenna wire off, unrun those from your fan. Unrun those all the way up here, get them as much out of the way as possible. All you're left with at that point is this cable right here, the LCD cable. Your LCD cable will have this black piece of tape that goes around the edge. You're going to peel that up. And then right here, this gold bar, that's your plug. So you're going to take this piece of tape up, this sticker, gently peel it back. If you pull it back too hard, it can tear at this black tape, which can damage your LCD wires. So pull that back just enough to get you access to this gold bar. And then you can take a small pry tool and push on this corner, wiggle that out of that port. Now we're going to go at some screws. You're going to take these two screws off here up top near your fans. Take those two screws off. That will release this metal clip. You're going to take that off. Then you have these two screws under this fan on my left, right here. And on the right fan, you got these two screws right here. And lastly, you have some motherboard screws. This one right here. It'll have an arrow with an M2X4 sign there showing you where that screw is. You'll see another one here on the bottom right corner. And then one last one up here on the top right corner underneath this cable almost. After all that's done, all those things are unplugged, you can start picking the motherboard up and the heatsink assemblies and fan. You can start picking it up from this end. Gently pick it up. You may have to move some cables and wires out of the way, but that releases your motherboard. And then you can flip it over, and this is what you're looking at. Now, if you're here to clean your fans out, on each fan, you'll see these 4 small screws. One here, one here, one here, one here. If you remove those small 4 screws, then we're going to flip the motherboard over to get at this side. And if you'll see here on the top left of this fan, there's a little piece of tape. You're going to want to gently pry that back. And then there's some tape going over the vent here. Pry that back. And then you can get your fan off to clean it. Same with the other side. That's how you would access your fans to clean them. If you wanted to get at your CPU, GPU, heatsink area to reapply thermal paste, you see these 4 screws here. And then these 2 screws here. So usually you'd have 4 and 4, but these 2 screws do both. So after taking up these 6 screws, you'll be able to remove your heatsink and get at that to reapply thermal paste. If you guys are here to reapply thermal paste, there'll be a video link above. Also below in the description, it'll be a quick tutorial showing you how to reapply thermal paste correctly. You want to make sure you clean all the old stuff off. You don't want to put new paste on top of old paste. And then you don't want to put too much new paste down when you're ready to reapply. So again, there'll be a quick tutorial link below in the description. But that's how you would access your heatsink assembly, your fans in this model computer. So that's the video, guys. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, check out the FAQs below in the description. It could save you some time getting an answer. If you do need to leave me a question or comment, please do. I do try to get to those a couple times a day at least. To support the channel, please remember to like and share. Subscribe if you enjoy this type of DIY tutorials. And for those of you that want to support the channel a little further, you can always leave a small donation, and there's a couple ways to do that. First, right below the video to the right-hand side, you'll see the Super Thanks button. You can click on that. You can select a tip amount here. Second way, you can use your Cash App. Find me at $PC Helper. You can leave a dollar amount and you can even leave a little note. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.